more than anything. Yeah. With a mix of remote workers and on-site, on-property workers, I would think that it's very important to have a well-defined service philosophy and a way to measure it. If you had to describe what the company service philosophy is, and how it came to be, how would you do it?
Sure. I would say we have 7 core values. I won't list them all, but on the most basic level, it's empathy. We have to be able to relate not just to our coworkers, but to the guest, to investors, to owner partners. It really comes down to that. And it's very easy to have a great culture when times are easy. But culture is really what you do in your darkest, most dire moment. And so for us, that was obviously the second week of March 2020 when Trump issued the European travel ban and bookings just fell off a cliff. And we really stuck to what made the company great. And we said, look, we are going to pay all of our rents on April 1st. And we aren't going to furlough people. We are going to figure out how do we pivot to this new long-term model or midterm model. There's demand people coming from New York or Boston or San Francisco, the areas that were hit hardest initially. Traveling nurses, student housing. A lot of students couldn't go back. They couldn't leave the U.S. So it really came down to adaptability and empathy. But if I were to choose one word, it would be empathy.
Yeah. I'm curious to get your thoughts on how to create and how to maintain high level service delivery, which is what a lot of this is about. Service delivery can happen in many different ways, and it means different things to different people. And that's the tricky part about it, is that people grade great service in many different ways. If I was checking in and I didn't want to talk to anybody and I had to stand there through a 5-minute spiel from somebody who had to hit all of these brand standards before I got my key, like, I would get annoyed and I might not think that that's great service. Versus someone who does want to have that conversation when they're arriving, and the front desk person is just very short and gives them what they need and then moves on. It's very transactional. It's the same thing. But in my experience, the ability to stay or to have more of a hip-to-hip interaction with somebody when they arrive in a traditional hotel sense is a much easier way to create an emotional connection with somebody and be able to like kind of read their body language and sort of know how to tailor your delivery. Because it's a long-winded way of saying there's different ways to deliver high-touch service. Traditionally in our hotel world, that's always been face-to-face, hip-to-hip.
Yeah.
How do you do that when you start integrating more technology?
Sure. I think our perspective on this is you can't go all the way on the other side of the spectrum and just say everything's going to be robots, totally automated behind computer screens. But we have to still do it in a cost-effective way. So for us, that has actually been kind of hybridizing some positions. So we've done that with valet. When you think about valet, they can be incredibly multifaceted. They could be front desk, they could be overnight security. It's someone who has to be on the property 24/7. But just like the front desk, a lot of times they're just kind of sitting there waiting for a customer to come by with their car. So valet is incredibly important to us because that is really the first impression. So first person you see at the property, how they greet you, how they open the door, do they make eye contact, how do they welcome you? And that is kind of this new approach where we don't call them valet anymore. We call them hospitality agents. And that person has been cross-trained for overnight security. They know how to make a reservation in the computer. So I think really we can still have that human element 24/7 at every single property, but it needs to be a revenue generating position. So we've had a lot of success with that in valet.